there, and welcome to today's episode of the English Learning Podcast. I'm your host, Henry, and in this episode, we're going to talk about something super helpful for anyone learning English: how to memorize new words smartly. Whether you're a beginner or you've been studying for a while, this episode is going to give you some really easy and effective tips to help you remember new words and make them a natural part of your vocabulary. I know it can be frustrating when you learn new words, but then forget them the next day. You might be wondering, how do I actually keep these words in my head and use them when I need them? Well, don't worry. By the end of this episode, you'll know exactly how to memorize new words in a way that's fun, simple, and works for you. Before we jump in, just remember, it's completely normal to forget words. The key is to practice smart techniques to keep those words fresh in your memory, so you can use them when you need them the most. Ready to get started? Let's dive in. All right, now let's talk about the problem. If you're learning English, you've probably had this experience. You learn a new word, you're really excited about it, but then, after a few days, you can't remember it. Sound familiar? It can be really frustrating, right? You might feel like you've wasted time, or maybe even wonder if you're just not good at learning new words. But don't worry, this is totally normal. Here's why this happens. Our brains are amazing, but they can't remember everything forever. When you learn a new word, it's like putting a piece of paper into a drawer. If you don't open that drawer again and again, the paper will get lost in there. The same happens with words. If you don't use them, they tend to disappear from your memory. Another reason we forget new words is because we often don't learn them the right way. Sometimes we just memorize the word by itself, without thinking about how it fits into a sentence or how we can use it in real life. This makes it harder to remember. And let's not forget about motivation. Sometimes we get excited about learning new words, but if we don't see results quickly, we can lose motivation. We start to feel like it's too much work, or that it's not even worth it. So, understanding why we forget words is really important. It's not because you're not trying hard enough or because you're not smart enough. It's just how our brains work. The good news? We can fix this. And in the next section, I'll share some smart ways to memorize new words that actually work. Okay, now that we understand why memorizing new words can be tricky, let's talk about the smart way to do it. I'm going to give you some really simple techniques that are easy to follow. And the best part is, they actually work. Let's start with the first one. Learn words in context. One of the biggest mistakes learners make is memorizing a word without knowing how to use it in a sentence. For example, if you just learn the word apple, you might forget it because you haven't seen it used in real life. But if you learn a phrase like, "I ate an apple for breakfast," it's much easier to remember because it's tied to a real situation. Words that are part of a sentence or story stick better in our memory. So, whenever you learn a new word, try to learn it in a sentence. This will help you understand how the word is used, and it makes it easier to remember. Next up is a technique called spaced repetition. You may have heard this term before, but let me explain. Spaced repetition means reviewing words at increasing intervals. For example, you might review a word after 1 day, then after 3 days, then after a week. This way, you keep the word fresh in your mind, without overloading yourself. There are some great apps, like Anki or Quizlet, that use spaced repetition to help you remember words more effectively. These apps show you the words you're likely to forget, so you can review them at the right time. Another helpful trick is to create personal connections with the words. For example, if you're learning the word dog, think about your own dog or a dog you know. The more personal the connection, the easier it is to remember the word. If you can relate the word to something in your life, it sticks much better. Now, here's a big one. Practice with real-life use. The best way to remember new words is by actually using them in conversation. If you have a friend or a language partner, try to use the new words you learn during your chats. Even if you don't have a partner to practice with, you can practice by speaking to yourself or writing sentences with the new word. The more you use a word, the stronger the connection in your brain becomes. Some people find that visual memory tricks can help too. For example, you can use flashcards to write the word on one side and draw a picture or write a sentence on the other side. Or, if you're a creative person, try making mind maps where words are connected to other words you already know. This visual approach helps your brain remember the word by connecting it to something familiar. There are so many apps and tools that can make your learning easier. As I mentioned before, apps like Anki or Quizlet use spaced repetition to help you remember words. You can also use dictionary apps that have example sentences and audio pronunciations, so you hear the word being used in context. Another great tip is to learn word families. For example, if you learn the word happy, try to learn related words like happiness, happily, and unhappy. Learning a group of related words helps you build a stronger understanding of the word and makes it easier to remember. Finally, remember, it's not about memorizing as many words as possible. It's about quality over quantity. Limit your daily word intake. Instead of trying to learn 20 new words in one day, focus on 5 to 10 words, but make sure you really understand them and can use them in different situations. Learning fewer words well is much more effective than learning a lot and forgetting most of them. These techniques are all simple, but they really work. You don't need to do everything at once. Start with 1 or 2 of these strategies, and as you get more comfortable, you can add more to your routine. All right, now that you have some smart techniques to memorize words, let's talk about how to make these techniques a part of your daily routine. The key to learning new words is consistency. But don't worry, we'll keep it simple and easy. First things first, start your day with a quick review. Spend 5 to 10 minutes looking over the words you learned the day before. You can use flashcards, apps, or even just write the words down again. This short review session helps you refresh your memory and makes it easier to remember the words throughout the day. Next, learn 5 to 10 new words a day. That's it, just 5 to 10 words. If you try to learn too many words in one day, you'll end up feeling overwhelmed, and you won't remember most of them. Focus on quality, not quantity. Pick words that are useful to you, whether it's words related to your job, your hobbies, or even words that come up in movies and books you like. When the words are relevant to your life, they're easier to remember. Now, throughout the day, try to practice those words in your conversations or writing. If you can, use them in sentences, You could practice speaking to a language partner or even just talk to yourself. For example, if you learned the word delicious, you might say to yourself, "This pizza is so delicious." The more you use the words, the more natural they'll feel. If you're not sure about using them in conversation yet, don't worry. Writing sentences in a notebook or even repeating the word out loud will help too. Before you go to sleep, take another 5 to 10 minutes to review the words you learned during the day. This will help transfer those words from your short-term memory to your long-term memory. You can even write a sentence with each word to make sure you understand how it's used. Don't just look at the word and its meaning. Try to make a sentence with it. This makes it more likely you'll remember it. One great way to track your progress is by keeping a vocabulary journal. In this journal, you can write down the words you've learned along with their meanings, example sentences, and anything else that helps you understand them. Over time, you'll be able to look back and see how much you've learned. You can also use this journal to write down new phrases you hear in movies or books. Remember, learning phrases is just as important as learning individual words. Finally, try to make learning fun. You don't have to treat it like a chore. Play vocabulary games, listen to podcasts, watch movies or shows in English, and take note of new words you hear. Try to guess the meaning from the context, and then check the dictionary. This way, learning feels more like a game than work. So, here's a quick summary of your daily routine. 1. Start your day with a quick review. Learn 2 to 10 new words. Practice the words throughout the day. 4. Do another review before bed. 5. Keep a vocabulary journal. 6. Make learning fun. Just 15 to 20 minutes a day can make a huge difference. And the best part? It doesn't feel like you're studying all the time because it's part of your daily life. Now that we've talked about how to memorize words and how to make it a part of your daily routine, let's focus on something just as important: your mindset and motivation. Learning new words is a journey, not a race. And like any journey, it comes with its challenges. Some days you'll feel excited and motivated, but other days it might feel like progress is slow. That's completely normal. So, let's talk about how you can stay motivated and keep a positive mindset throughout your language learning journey. First, be patient with yourself. It's easy to get frustrated when you forget a word or can't remember how to use it in a sentence. But here's the thing: you won't remember everything right away. And that's okay. The more you practice, the more those words will stick. Remember, learning a language is a process, and it takes time. Even native speakers forget words sometimes. The important part is not giving up. Another key to staying motivated is to not fear forgetting. When you forget a word, it's not a failure. In fact, it's a sign that your brain is processing the word and trying to make room for it in long-term memory. Forgetting is actually part of the learning process. So, don't feel bad if you forget a word you learned last week. Just review it again, and it will come back to you. Over time, the word will become more familiar and easier to recall. Celebrate small wins along the way. Maybe you learned 5 new words today, or maybe you used a new word in a sentence during a conversation. Those little victories are important. Take a moment to recognize your progress. It's easy to focus on what we haven't learned yet, but try to remember how far you've come. Every word you learn is a step forward, and that's something to be proud of. Another way to stay motivated is to make learning fun. Try not to think of it as something you have to do, but rather something you want to do. Play language games, watch your favorite movies in English, or listen to music in English. These activities will help you learn without feeling like you're working too hard. You can also set small challenges for yourself, like learning 5 new words in a week, and then rewarding yourself with something you enjoy. It could be a treat, a fun activity, or even a short break. Some days you might not feel like studying. That's completely normal too. But staying consistent is key. Even if you only spend 5 minutes reviewing your words, it's better than nothing. Just showing up every day, even if it's for a short time, helps you build a habit and keeps you moving forward. On tough days, remind yourself that every little bit counts. Progress might be slow, but it's still progress. 1. To sum it up, here are some tips to keep your motivation strong. 2. Be patient with yourself. 3. Don't fear forgetting. 4. Celebrate small wins. 5. Make learning fun. 6. Stay consistent, even on tough days. If you keep a positive mindset and stay motivated, you'll see improvement over time. And before you know it, you'll be using new words without even thinking about it. All right, let's quickly recap everything we've covered today. First, we talked about the challenges of memorizing new words. It's completely normal to forget words, and it's not because you're not trying hard enough. It's just how our brains work. But don't worry, there's a smart way to overcome this. We've also learned some great techniques to help you remember words. These include learning words in context, using spaced repetition, creating personal connections, practicing with real-life use, and even using visual memory tricks. These methods are all simple and practical, and they will make a huge difference in how well you remember new words. Then, we talked about how to build a daily routine for vocabulary practice. By reviewing your words, learning 5 to 10 new words a day, and practicing throughout the day, you'll create a habit that helps you improve every single day. Finally, we discussed how to stay motivated and keep a positive mindset. Don't worry if you forget words or if progress feels slow. The key is to stay patient, stay consistent, and make learning fun. So, here's your challenge for today. Pick 5 words you want to learn, use the techniques we talked about, and make a plan to practice them every day. Don't forget to celebrate your small victories along the way. Remember, learning a language is a journey, and every step you take brings you closer to your goal. So, keep going and trust the process. You've got this. That's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you found these tips helpful and that you feel ready to start memorizing words smartly. If you have any questions or want to share your progress, feel free to reach out. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast for more language learning tips. Until next time, happy learning and take care.